What's your favorite scary movie?
Has to be said, for people of a certain generation, the answer to that question often is Scream. And hand in the air, I love these films too. Whether it's because it's poking fun at the whole conventions and tropes of slasher and horror films in general, or using those to subvert your own expectations, or the fact that there's a new killer or killers in each film, which keeps you on your toes and means that every film is a new fun experience. And there is a new film coming. So I've been watching them and thinking about all the different kills, some of which are brutal, goofy, some are important to the plot, some are just adding to the blood and body count, which is also totally allowed. And you know what? I've done a few of these kill lists now, and I have to say, with 6 films and over 50 kills to choose from, this has been the toughest one so far, because I had to narrow those over 50 kills down to just 10. So, why don't we see which ones made the cut? It's my top 10 Scream kills.
Number 10.
There's always something so satisfying about seeing one of the Ghostface killers, not the one from the Wu-Tang Clan, get their comeuppance. And one of the most conniving killers in the whole series has got to be the character of Jill Roberts from Scream 4, played by the actress Emma Roberts. A total fame-obsessed brat clinging onto their famous relative for relevancy and their shot at the big time. But enough about Emma Roberts, let's talk about her character, Jill Roberts. Oh, Ghostface ain't the only one who can commit murder. Seriously though, this character is a total psycho. And I think honestly the villain and the social commentary in this has aged very well. Some people don't really like Scream 4, but I'm a bit of a Scream 4 apologist. I like that movie, as I think this list is going to show. She's also quite successful as a killer in that she nearly achieves her goal of being the sole survivor of another Woodsboro massacre. She even manages to put Gail and Sydney in the hospital. A hospital she goes to after surviving the massacre that she actually caused. But what she didn't realise is that Sydney's not dead. She's alive too, and she knows that Jill is the killer, forcing her to go to the hospital and try dispose of Sydney. But, as it turns out, Gail and Dewey have also found out now that she's the killer. Before we go any further, we should mention that the meta commentary about movies in Hollywood this time around is really addressing the big horror trend that occurred between this film and the last Scream film, Scream 3. There's no Scream 3 kills on this list, I'm sorry. That being that a lot of classic horror films were being remade and they generally kinda sucked.
Name the remake of the groundbreaking horror movie in which the villain...
Halloween, Texas Chainsaw, Dawn of the Dead, The Hills Have Eyes, Amityville Horror.
So it was nice for Scream 4 to bring us a shocking death and then put an exclamation mark on how we all really felt about that trend.
Can I just have one final word?
What?
Clear.
Clear?
Clear. You forgot the first rule of remakes, Jill. Don't with the original.
There's so many knife deaths in Scream that anytime you can do something a little bit different and then drop an Arnie-style quip, then I'm impressed. I mean, impressed enough to put it at the bottom of my list at least. Okay, I feel bad about not including any of Scream 3 in my list, so here we go. The most horrifying crime committed in that film. Courtney Cox's hair. Good God! Forget about Ghostface. The hairstylist is the real monster here. Quick, give us more violence so we can rid ourselves of that horrific sight. Ugh.
Number 9.
As mentioned, seeing the killers get a taste of their own medicine always goes down good. Admittedly though, the death of a lot of the Ghostface killers, still not the Wu-Tang Clan member, is pretty formulaic in the original trilogy. Normally it's just shot, maybe stabbed, and possibly shot again to make sure they don't come back. Stu Macher was not that lucky. Of the 2 original killers, Billy is very much the mastermind psychotic, whereas Stu is the thrill-killing horror obsessive. As Sidney points out, he doesn't even have a motive, he's just following Billy's lead. He's a pathetic figure. Even more so when Billy cuts him and he cuts him a bit too deep, and Stu starts to realise that things aren't going to end well for him.
Did you really call the police?
You missed your sorry ass, I did.
My mom and dad are gonna be so mad.
You'd almost feel bad for him if it wasn't for all those murders. Whoops. So, yeah, he's got to face repercussions for his actions, and fitting then that the person whose brain was warped by violent horror films meets his end by a deftly pushed television. You could never do that nowadays. Mainly because flat screen televisions just don't hit the same, you know? Although they did do it again in Scream 6 actually, so I stand corrected. I guess you can do that nowadays too. Now I know there's a lot of Stu Truthers or Stuthers out there who contest that Stu Macker survived this and is actually alive. And that apparently once was the plan for Scream 3. And in Scream 6 they seem to be confirmed his death. But despite all this, Matthew Lillard is coming back for Scream 7. And we don't know what that means as of this recording. Maybe he's going to be AI. Maybe he's actually back. So someday I might have to come back and revise this list. So don't leave a comment saying, Stu's alive, you're wrong, he's not dead. Just sit back and enjoy this kill for now. If nothing else, I'm sure Quentin Tarantino is enjoying watching Matthew Lillard die.
Number 8.
I love Alison Brie in every sense of the word, so you've got to do some pretty heavy lifting to make me hate her. And it has to be said, her character Rebecca Walters in Scream 4 does a pretty good job of making me hate her. A publicist for Sydney's book, she's very career driven and seemingly very good at her job, but kind of shady. Like, she's really capitalizing on the murders by bringing the book tour to Woodsboro, and that just seems in poor taste. And then it turns out she hasn't even read Sydney's book. That's just incompetence. I don't want to be too hard on Rebecca though. She's very reminiscent of a young Gale Weathers. We wouldn't get to see if she grew into that role though, because her time is about to be cut short. We get a nice suspenseful scene full of a lot of fun horror cliches, like the janky elevator, oh the car won't start, and then it reaches comedic absurdity when the door handle falls off. And then the knife in the gut. There it is. Come on. You know I love it when you put a bit of extra stank on it. What happens next?
We just want the community to know that we are very close to bringing this whole situation under control.
Right on the news van. That death is going to get some coverage. I'm sorry, Alison Brie, but that's just too good to leave out.
Number 7.
It's not easy being a new character in a Scream sequel. It seems you're destined to either stab as Ghostface or be stabbed by Ghostface. Isn't that the way life goes? Swings and roundabouts and all that. It's also not easy if you're a love interest in the series. Don't believe me? Ask Annika. Oh right, she's dead! You gotta hand it to the team of Ghostfaces behind the mask in Scream 6. They weren't afraid to go a little bit extra to make things exciting. Controversial opinion, I think Ghostface using a shotgun briefly is kind of awesome.
Wait. No.
That is the Ghostface killer. No one could get iller. That actually was a Wu-Tang Clan reference, to be fair. Annika gets absolutely annihilated. First she gets stabbed in a very nasty and grisly way, and then they're not afraid to pile on the torture. Which is good, in general, not for Annika, but it's good because by the time Scream 6 came around, it seemed like people were just fine after being knifed. 'Tis but a scratch. So, despite some of her insides being outsides now, she's still hanging in there. And by there, I mean above an alley. And by hanging, I do mean hanging, in that she's hanging onto a ladder for dear life as they try to escape the apartment that has Ghostface into an apartment that has no Ghostface. Good idea, gang. Fun fact, getting an apartment in New York City that doesn't have a serial killer in it is crazy expensive. It's really unrealistic, and I wish movies and TVs would just stop pushing that idea as if it's an attainable reality. In this apartment, measuring in at 700 square feet, safety! And in the other apartment, what's black, white, and red all over? Ghostface! When gravity and Ghostface meet, it's just a thing of beauty. I mean, maybe not beauty, but spiritual beauty.
Number 6.
In talking about the kills in the series, I think you often need to distinguish between the ones that are great scenes or important to the story, and the ones that are just there to satisfy our thirst for blood. And this is certainly more the former than the latter, in that it kicked off the whole franchise, and it's an incredibly iconic scene. I think you know the one I'm talking about.
You never told me your name.
Why do you want to know my name?
I want to know who I'm looking at.
Yes, the first real kill that helped establish Ghostface and inspired many in-universe copycats for years to come. I say first real kill because technically Ghostface killed Sydney's mother off-screen before the events of this. And also, I mean, you know, Casey's boyfriend Steven is killed. We don't see him being killed, we hear him being killed, and then we see him. Nobody cares, Steven. Nobody cares. The opening of the original film helped establish so much of the personality for the rest of the series, and they've basically gone back to the well in every movie since. It's just really entertaining watching Ghostface play with his victims. Then, to add to the fact, as much as we're all aware of it now, people thought Drew Barrymore was the star and the lead of this film. She was front and center in the marketing, and that's her face on the original poster. And then they went and killed her off in the opening scene, and it definitely gets points for a swerve like that. It could lose points arguably in that we don't see the actual death. We see her get stabbed initially, we see her get strangled, but then it focuses on the knife as the killing blow happens. Instead, it focuses on the parents discovering that their daughter has been brutally killed and is hanging from the outside tree. So, technically as a kill, you could be able to argue against it, but I would argue that a scene so grim, tragic and horrific belongs on this list. As a scene, it is scary and suspenseful in a way I don't think the franchise ever is again, and certainly it might meet it at times, but it certainly never surpassed it. Everything down to even the music and the sound is intense and upsetting. And that told the world with just our first scene that the horror genre, and the slasher genre in particular, were about to change forever.
Number 5.
Let's talk a sec about plot armor. Because since at least the second film, it was starting to seem like there was a Scream formula where newcomers would be goners, but nothing could happen to the three amigos. Yes, despite many stabbings down through the years that left Sidney, Gale and Dewey with more holes than a shower head and spraying more fluid than a shower head. I have to stop brainstorming these in the shower. It was starting to feel like nothing could kill them. Until we got to Scream 5. Now we all know that every Scream film has its set of rules dictated by Hollywood conventions to help them survive and also figure out who Ghostface is. For example, we had the rules of a horror film, a horror sequel, the final chapter in a trilogy, a horror remake, and a requel. But unfortunately, as Force Awakens proved, another rule is that when it comes to requels, legacy characters are allowed to be killed off. Sorry, Dewey. After fighting off a Ghostface attack, the gang escapes to an elevator and it appears they're safe. But you live by the rules, you die by the rules.
You have to shoot them in the head, or they always come back.
Dewey, who gives a f***?
I do.
No, Dewey!
A brief distraction from his phone. Side note, you should really make another rule about just avoiding phones if you're in the Scream universe, because they are nothing but bad news. But it gives Ghostface a chance to get the upper hand and carve up the former cop. Dewey's always felt like the heart of the series, so watching him go out so brutally is a tough pill to swallow.
It's an honor.
In this film, we've seen him shepherd the new generation in such an endearing way that reminded us why we love the character to begin with. And Dewey wasn't always the most heroic, but in this instance at least, he died a hero. It's upsetting, violent and impactful in a way a lot of these deaths really aren't. But it did tell us that in this new Scream universe, nobody was safe.
Number 4.
You know, I've always had a gripe with Ghostface because he goes after introverted movie lovers. Like, I feel personally attacked. Not that Cece is necessarily an introvert, she's just the sober sister while her sorority sisters are out partying. But she's definitely a movie buff, because who else would spend their nights watching Nosferatu? And she should be way more concerned about the other pale-faced murderer wandering around. As she tensely explores the house with the killer on the phone, Ghostface comes out of the closet. Not like that. Well, maybe. I mean, Ghostface could be gay, right? Anyway, it's a shame that Cece wasn't watching the original Scream though instead of Nosferatu, because she might have heard Sid's advice not to run up the stairs.
Some stupid killer stalking some big-breasted girl who can't act, who's always running up the stairs when she should be going out the front door. It's insulting.
I mean, not even Sydney followed that bit of advice, but she survived. Cece would not. She tries her best to fight him off, to be fair. She hits him hard with a plant. She tries to convince him to jump on his bike and leave, but to no avail. That Ghostface sure is persistent. Now as Buffy, Sarah Michelle Gellar had no problem breaking glass ceilings. And as Cece, she has no problem breaking glass doors. Now a lot happens with this death, so I've come up with an easy mantra to remember it. Smash, stab, stab, splash. Say it with me. Smash, stab, stab, splat. Very good. I mean, the only thing that drops faster than Cece is that song that drops immediately after she dies. God, what are your editors in a rush or something?
Never said I was innocent. I won't burn it.
A scene that harkens back to the original without being too meta or cutesy like some later homages would be. And as Randy says, you need to up your game for a horror sequel.
The way I see it, someone's out to make a sequel. So it's our job to observe the rules of the sequel. Number 2, the death scenes are always much more elaborate. More blood, more gore.
Considering everything that happened to Cece, I think we can comfortably tick that box. Quick, violent, and a tasteful nod. Well, as tasteful a nod as horrific murder can be.
Number 3.
I said it before, I love Scream 4. Many people thought that this century was going to be a passing of the baton to a younger generation and that many of these new characters would be carrying the films for years to come. And that would generally not be true, as many of these characters would end up on the wrong side of Ghostface's blade. As Kirby and Jill are on the phone to the killer, well, one of them. The other is right there, bitch! Kirby, you got to work for the FBI. How embarrassing was it telling him that story? Kirby is on Jill's phone talking to Ghostface. She thought it was Jill's ex, Trevor. Again, just a stunning FBI candidate we've got there. And Jill is on the phone to Olivia. It's a good thing these are modern phones or else their wires would really be crossed. Sorry, I have to throw in some jokes for the old people every now and then. Kids in their phones nowadays, am I right? Ghostface tells Kirby that he's in the closet. Wait for it.
Liar. I'm over this.
I never said I was in your closet.
Oh, sh**. Wait a minute, did that motherfucker's come out of another closet? Okay, tear it down. New video. Is Ghostface gay? Rainbow Ghostface. Oh, wow, already a thing apparently. You're going to tell me though that Stu and Billy weren't more than homicidal maniacs? Back on track. If you live in Woodsboro, there's a good chance you're going to see some of your friends get killed, but you don't often get a front row seat like this as they stand and watch Olivia get absolutely decimated. I mean, you don't have to stand there and do nothing. Again, future FBI agent, folks. Why am I being so mean to Kirby? I have no idea why. She's cut to ribbons and hung out the window by Ghostface, who leers threateningly at them. I love dramatic bitch Ghostface is thinking, I need to stick my head out so you can see me clearly and wave my little knife around. All jokes aside, this is a satisfying twist on the killer being on the other end of the phone dynamic with the reveal that they are not the victim this time and that it's the wrong closet. It's a great violent scene that also sets the stage for Sydney to pick up the phone and hear the voice that's tormented her for years and she thought was long gone. And a reminder that sometimes they only need new blood, so they've got more to spill.
Number 2.
I think this is probably going to be a controversial pick, but I think this scene has also aged incredibly well because since this film was released, this Ghostface has won an Oscar. It's about damn time. Scream 2022 gave us lots of new characters, many of whom would actually stick around, and for a minute it actually felt like the torch was being passed to the next generation. It also paid a lot of homage to the original film, and there's nowhere where that's more true than in the final scenes of the film in the house, where it's revealed that there's 2 Ghostface killers, just like it was in 1996. One of those killers is Richie, who dies a grisly and deserving death at the hands of Sam, who embraces her lineage finally as the daughter of Billy Loomis. I like that one. It's not all about narrative arcs though. Sometimes I just want to see someone get lit up. I mean that in more ways than one. Academy Award winner Mikey Madison's Amber is revealed to be the other killer, and Sydney and Gail team up to kill themselves another Ghostface. They couple up so much now I feel like they need like a couple name, like Sid Gale. Gale Force Sid. Sydney, Austria. I got nothing. Gail and Amber fight and Gail smashes her in the head with some hand sanitizer. Yeah, this movie was definitely worked on during the pandemic. And say what you want about Ghostface, but he's very COVID compliant. I mean, he always wears a mask.
Time to pass the torch.
Amber is starting to enjoy the whole thing until Gail pushes her off And she accidentally turns on the stove. What a strange detail to include. However, it does give Gale the perfect opportunity to avenge Dewey.
Enjoy that torch.
If you thought that was overkill, wait till you hear that she's not actually dead and she springs back up at the end and gets shot.
I still prefer the Babadook.
That makes sense in a context that I'm not going to explain. Okay, technically it mightn't be the fire that killed her, but it's the end of her relevancy to the plot. She's dead to me! So I'm counting it. Probably a divisive one, but I just think it's a blast when Gale and Sydney team up to this degree. It's excessive, goofy, and a hell of a lot of fun. And it also works as emotional catharsis for the audience and hoping someone will get revenge for Dewey. And yeah, honestly, I get a kick out of this being pretty much the only major film role that Mikey Madison had before she went on to win an Oscar for Best Actress. So yeah, for me it's number 2. Other people might say the same, with very different connotations.
Number 1.
I've said and probably demonstrated by now that I love excessive death scenes with a bit of creativity. And there's a few of them in the first movie. But my favourite of those, and my favourite of all the kills, is the death of Tatum Riley. That's right, her and her brother Dewey both get great death scenes. While heading to the garage to get some beers, that is the most American I've ever sounded, the door slams shut behind her and she's suddenly startled by a cat, showing who the real pussy is. Just a classic horror trope. So she raises the shutter door to get out, but somebody starts to lower it again. Now if that's a cat in a Ghostface costume, I'm going to be pissed. At first she actually thinks it's Randy, but that idea quickly dissipates as she has to fight for her life. And honestly, few people have put up a better fight against Ghostface than Tatum. She smacks him with a fridge door, smashes him with beer bottles. She would have hit him with the kitchen sink too if that was in reach. She also pulls off this move. I'd love to give her credit for it, but I think that's another example of Ghostface just being a clumsy dumbass. Although, Tatum makes the ultimate dumbass move in that she never raised the garage door again. And she's forced to go through the cat flap. And she's not a cat. Fatal mistake. I love how Ghostface is just like, oh, I can't waste this opportunity. I don't know how this is going to go, but let's give it a chance. And then he's just like, better get back to the party now. A squashed head, a broken neck. I don't exactly know what happened, but it's an all-timer. I also love how you get to put the pieces together at the same time Ghostface does. You're kind of in the mind of the killer briefly. You're like, oh my god, she's stuck. Oh my god, the button's right here. Oh, this is going to be great. I also like that in a lesser or trashier film, she probably would have just been decapitated. But in this, she just in a kind of realistic but also really kind of clumsy and satisfying way just gets mangled up in the garage door. Just a perfect storm of awfulness for Tatum and a perfect storm of awesomeness for the audience. And that's what makes it my favourite Scream kill. And that is my top 10 Scream kills. Agree, disagree, let me know in the comments below what your favourites are. And come up with a name for the team of Gale and Sydney, because it wouldn't be hard to do better than what I did. That actually was my genuine best effort. Aside from that, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe, because if you enjoy Scream, this is part of our Scream week. We've already got a Scream short up on the channel, and I'm going to soon drop my review of the new film. So I guess you could say, I'll be right back! Wah!